Good heavens, am I behind? I am always trying to do reviews of the different Star Trek shows that come out with like different seasons. And I'm behind because Star Trek Discovery's first episode came out last week, and I am now finally doing my review. P.S. though, I will be discussing some spoilers. I will not be showing any photos or anything out of respect for people living in Europe, Asia, Australia, and anywhere else abroad, because right now, due to a dissolving of a partnership between Paramount Plus and Netflix, Star Trek Discovery was pulled from Netflix and is not premiering um, outside of the United States until like January of 2022. Of course, there's been a lot of frustration with that, both from fans and the actors and actresses in the show. But I digress. So I will be discussing spoilers, so please click away so you don't accidentally listen to them. But I do want to talk about season 4, episode 1, titled Kobayashi Maru, which, yes, is a classic Star Trek reference and Easter egg. So essentially, like, I will begin by saying that the one thing I love about Star Trek Discovery is the fact that it's very bold. From season 1 onward, it's done something new every season. It's really kind of put in some nuggets to connect with, like older fans who were fans of like the original series and Next Generation. But it's also really kind of etched out its own path, which I really appreciate and applaud. So, the beginning of this episode, titled Kobayashi Maru, begins with Captain Burnham, played by Sonequa Martin Green, and Book, conducting a negotiation with, a species, because the episode begins by illustrating that time has passed between the end of season 3 and the beginning of season 4. So the Discovery has been going on missions to kind of reconnect the Federation to its member planets 900 years in the future from when Star Trek normally takes place. So it's super interesting. Absolutely love that concept. I feel like that is what we would have seen initially in Star Trek Enterprise had it had gone over, the limited amount of seasons that it had. So I feel like this first episode of Discovery is really paying homage to Star Trek Enterprise, not only with that, but also they construct like a space dock that's dedicated or that's named after Captain Archer. So like there's a lot of like Easter eggs and references. They pay wonderful respect to the other series. But the whole purpose of this episode is it walks the audience through a lot of character development. There's a lot of action, mind you, but there's a lot of like really small moments of awesome character development that we haven't gotten before. We get really much introduced to Book's planet, to Kwejian, and his family, and some traditions related to that culture. And we are also introduced to the president of the Federation, who I think her name is President Rillick. She is, from what I've read, Bajoran, human, and Cardassian hybrid, which is super duper interesting. And I really think that there's a lot of room for development for her character, but there's a lot of like tension between her and Captain Burnham, because she's not a huge fan of how Captain Burnham conducts herself. So I really am interested in the direction they're going with Captain Burnham, because she's finally reached the state of being captain of this ship that we all love dearly, right? But she has flaws, just like any other human does. And she shows that she's overcoming those flaws and doing the right thing or making the right decisions. But I think that that's what really creates good character development, when you see a character with flaws and how they overcome those, or how they overcome trauma, so on and so forth. But yeah, there's some interesting conflict there. But truthfully, the biggest aspect of the episode is the introduction of the next big bad, which isn't a person. It's not. It's a phenomenon. It's some sort of gravitational anomaly, and the episode ends on a cliffhanger where this anomaly ends up essentially destroying Kwejian, an entire culture, which is really we haven't seen that since I mean, since Star Trek Picard and the Kelvin universe made reference to the destruction of Romulus. So, like, obviously, the destruction of an entire planet and an entire culture is very detrimental. And, I had a feeling at the beginning of the episode when they were introducing us to Quajon's culture and, like, and its beauty and everything, I was like, okay, I have a feeling, like, something bad's gonna happen. Um, it really tugged at my heartstrings. It really kind of devastated me. Seeing the characters react as well to the destruction of that planet was, like, really, really difficult to watch, right? And I think that's the point, right? So ultimately, I think this episode did a wonderful job being balanced with action and character development, and that's what I like about Star Trek Discovery. Is it's carrying on the serialized story that's episodic, that builds off from one episode to another, but it also peppers in some character development. I would, again, love to see more of, like, the characters like Owo and Detmer and so on and so forth. Like, I want to see, like, some of these secondary characters get more of the limelight, because I think that they deserve that, and I'm hoping the rest of the season does that. I do think that, like, my only worry about Star Trek Discovery so far is that every season seems to have, like, this big bad, which really hasn't. I mean, that hasn't been a huge thing in Star Trek. Like, yes, there's been, like, villains and big bads, but usually an entire show centers around it. But for Star Trek Discovery, it's like every season seems to be some sort of cataclysmic event. I would personally like to see more about how the crew of the Discovery is coping with their trauma after being sent 900 years in the future, after going through to the mirror universe. They've gone through a lot. I would argue more than more other characters in other Star Trek shows. So I think that we deserve a little bit of a insider view of how they're coping, right? I mean, we've had it peppered here and there, but not, like, extensively. But anyway, those are my thoughts about this current, the first episode of Star Trek Discovery. I would give it an A minus, because I would like to see more of those few things. But ultimately, I loved it. It's such an empowering Star Trek show with a diverse cast, and I love the direction it's going in creatively, and I hope that we get many more seasons. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet for more reviews of Star Trek Discovery and Picard, which is coming, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.